Hi everyone, this is Henry Pim giving you a updated room tour. I wanted to give you guys an update on my collection with commentary. I usually collect the 1/6 scale statues only, but this Galactus legendary scale bust by Sideshow is the only exception. You can understand why, because this is a magnificent piece in my opinion. I think the maquette, tops this. In a way that it's a complete statue. But I would never go for that. I mean, it's too big for me. And this, as you can see, is a very large statue. You can compare it to the Fantastic Four, which are 1/6 scale statues that stand beside it, and you can see the height difference. So moving on, these are the Fantastic Four. So you got Ben Grimm behind that. These are the 2012 incarnation of the Fantastic Four, actually based on the 60s look. You can see that by the bluish costume, and well, the boyish look that the Human Torch has. So moving on, these are, in my opinion, the icons, the Avengers icons: Captain America, Hawkeye, and Iron Man. I chose three of my favorite depictions of the characters. Hawkeye by Kotobukiya, Captain America by Bowen, and as you can see, I chipped off a bit of his left wing, but that will get repaired. I chose the Mark 7 Iron Man by Kotobukiya as well. As you can see, also I added some lighting, some LED lighting that has been applied with 3M tape. So and I have remote control to turn it on and off. But it's a Lightmates. That's a brand. So it's a really good lighting system. I actually put one up on a lower level as well. But I wanted to show you guys, two of my favorite characters, the Scarlet Witch and Vision, also by Bowen. I haven't got the exclusive versions because the Vision has a transparent version, and the Scarlet Witch has one with the very large cape, but I didn't find that necessary in both characters. That's my telephone going. One moment. Jump cut. Okay, can't remember exactly where I was, but Quicksilver, brother of Wanda, Pietro, and Vision, or Scarlet Witch's husband. I had to get these three complete. It's not the exclusive version of any of those, but I just love those characters. I always have. Moving on, I believe these are two of the best sculpts out there, and I want to show you guys. On the left hand, you have the Avengers incarnation of the Beast, and I think that's the for me, that's the most nostalgic Beast. I don't think it's it's the best looking Beast, but it's the most nostalgic looking Beast. He remembers me when I was a kid and I read the 80s Avengers books, and you can see that he's a very good sculpt and a very good interpretation of the George Perez Avengers Beast. So I love him. He's excellent. Eric Sosa, I believe, sculpted him, and he's balancing only on his hand. So you can understand that the physics that go in there in the sculpt, the work that went in there is amazing. And on the right hand side, you have the 70s Miss Marvel. And I actually own I used to own the Warbird action statue, but I decided to sell that because I find that this piece is better looking. I love the leggy, posture of Miss Marvel herself. She's actually only wearing a V-tongue, so I mean, I'm sure she should be cold, in real life, but it's a good sculpt. It's a digital sculpt, and it's a flawless sculpt. I looked at it, I couldn't find any error or flaw, and it's a perfect sculpt in my opinion, a perfect paint job in my opinion, and she goes well with Captain Marvel, the classic Captain Marvel I also own. I'll show you him in a minute. This is the Savage Hulk, and he's a ginormous statue. I actually recently acquired him. I used to own, I actually owned a Kotobukiya classic Avengers Hulk, I owned him for about 1 or 2 weeks maybe, and I actually went to get this guy, and there was this local seller, and it wasn't a it wasn't a fence on selling me it for a price I had in mind, and he didn't want to do it, so I went out and bought the Kotobukiya Hulk by Eric Sosa, and nothing bad about that statue because that's a very very good statue, but when he told me that he would lower the price to my standard, I immediately sold my Kotobukiya Hulk. I had no trouble selling it at all, and I got this guy. And the sheer difference is the paint job. I think that the head sculpt on the Kotobukiya Hulk and the muscle detail on the Kotobukiya Hulk are much better. But the general paint job and the massiveness on this guy is is amazing. It's a really impressive statue. I really love it. It's a digital sculpt as well, which you can see in the flawless detail on of the sculpt and the paint job. I mean, it's very symmetrical, and with a hand sculpted statue, you won't get that exact kind of symmetry. So moving on, this is one of my favorite let's say dioramas or companion pieces or whatever. This is Thanos. Not sure how to pronounce it after all these years. This is probably my most favorite Thanos statue. I used to really love the Diamond Select statue, the Art Asylum version, but this one wins. I mean, look at him. He's massive. He's not as big as the Hulk, and that was the whole reason of me getting the Savage Hulk, because I wanted the statue that was at least bigger and taller than he was. And the only one that was that actually was the Savage Hulk, because the Kotobukiya Hulk was just a tad bit shorter than he is. Mr. Death, his mate, the love of his life. I decided to put on a skull head and not the normal face, because when you think of death, you tend to think of a skull or something, or bones or whatever. In the back is a full bronze Captain Marvel, the classic Captain Marvel, also called Marvel. The Kree Warrior. He's one of my favorite characters ever, and to this day he's remained dead. He died of cancer, and I think that he is a symbol of a struggle of a superhero against a disease that we now cannot overcome. And the fact that he still remains dead, I think is it's a remembrance that disease is a horrible disease, and we should definitely put all our efforts in fighting it. So yeah, great character, and lousy way to die for him, but that's my cat in the background. A lousy way to die for him, but on the other hand, he died as a hero, and that's the only thing that mattered. And I love him, he's a great piece. I love the full bronze edition. I sold the action statue that I had of him because I preferred this one, and you can probably see why. Moving on. Wow. The Prince of Power and the King of Atlantis. Full bronze Namor. And this was my first full bronze piece, I believe. And I love him because he's majestic. He has this this look to him. You cannot approach him. You cannot touch him. He's the king. And when you look at Hercules, and people are probably wondering why I didn't get the Bowen version, simply because I found that this version shows him for what I perceived him in the comics. He was just a guy looking for a good fight. He was always getting into fights in the back in the day, and he isn't the most intellectual kind of guy, but for some reason the Bowen Select skulls are too historically accurate in my opinion. And looking at the comic, I think that this gives the best feel. It's a statue made by Seth Van Dable or Vanable. Sounds like a Dutch or Belgian name, but I think he's an American. I love the sculpt. I love the detail. He has a lot of detail on his fingernails. He even has the lines on the inside of his hand. you know, he's very comic accurate. Moving on, I think that this is one of the best, you know, displays I have myself. Um, let's start in the back. You have a Wasp mini statue with, thanks to the inspiration of Victor Rosario, I actually used one of my Eagle Moss figurines. I have a lot of those. I have about 50 or 60, but I'm selling them off. Only one I'm not selling off is the Ant-Man. And you can understand why. He's in a, you know, the right scale with the the Wasp. And I think he's a cool addition to the set. I would imagine that he's the Scott Lang edition and not the Henry Pym edition, because I have the Goliath standing next to them. As you can see, the Goliath is a very, very good statue. I love him. It's a digital sculpt by Jason Smith. But I believe that he is a very good sculpt. He looks good. He's tall. And, you know, you can see that even Thor reaching out with his hammer cannot even get to the same height as he is at the moment. I'm talking about Thor. This is the Kotobukiya Thor. In my opinion, probably the best Thor, or one of the best Thors out there. And why? Because he's comic book accurate. I'm not sure if you could hear that, but that was my WhatsApp, and that's my daughter, actually. Oh, there she goes again. I love this. I love this Thor. I love his cape. I love the fact that he's comic book accurate. I love the mug in this guy. I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, this is by far my favorite setup. Moving on, and please do not mind my messy attic. This is the Black Knight. And I love his ebony sword. I think it's Excalibur. I'm not sure about that. I haven't read that much about the Black Knight. But I had to include it because I wanted all the Avengers. This is the Black Panther. The modern version. T'Challa. I always used to love him as a kid because, you know, being, you know, a colored person, you know, growing up in a, you know, the predominantly white country, the Netherlands, you can imagine that I didn't have very many role models, especially in comic books. So he was, you know, the example, you know, for me, because he was a prince. He was of high stature. He wasn't a thug. He wasn't from the hood. He was a prince. He is royalty, and you know, I mean, look at this sculpt. I love this one. I love this one better than the classic version because this is more majestic. It has the gold pieces. It has the cape. I mean, this shows you that he is a king and a prince. Well, now he's a king, I believe. So, moving on a bit. Rogue. 80s Rogue. Why 80s Rogue? Why not the modern version or the 90s version? Simply because I love the 80s incarnation of the X-Men. I want to complete those guys. I want to add a Havoc. I want to add a Polaris. I want to add Betsy Braddock, not the the Asian Psylocke, but the British one with the purple hair. And I want to add a shirtless Colossus and Mohawk Storm and stuff like that. And I will then assemble my classic X-Men. Moving on. Heroes for Hire, completed, reunited. We've got Luke Cage, Power Man. I have added a Red Iron Fist, and turns out that Red Iron Fist is actually evil Danny Rand. He was cloned at the time, or replaced by a clone. I'm not sure. But, you know, cool combination. I love him better than the green version. You know, it just speaks to me more. Then there's the Silver Surfer action statue. And I need to show you guys. I mean, the sculpt in this guy. The board itself. Wow. I actually love this more than the museum pose. It's more dynamic. It has just more to it. You know, this is the Silver Surfer for me, not standing beside his board and doing nothing. This is the Silver Surfer, always on the move, always speeding on to his next destination or next mission. And I love this statue. I love all the cosmic statues. Those are probably my favorite. I think these are two of my best pieces. Maybe my grill pieces. On the left hand, that's my Wolverine faux bronze, and he's based on the brown costume. And this combination, faux bronze and the brown costume, is perfect for me. And when you look to the right of him, there's the Deadpool statue, also faux bronze. I saw the red painted version, the regular version, but I didn't like the paint job on that one. And then I saw this one, I was like, oh, need to get it. So I got it. It's a very good statue. I love it. It's a very smoothly painted statue. I love the sculpt in it. I love the mug in this guy. I love the guns, the bullets, everything about it. Perfect statue. Moving on, I can't reach that far, but I hope you guys can see. There's a Kotobukiya Nova. There's a modern Nova. I actually chose to sell the Bowen classic Nova to keep this guy. I had to, I want to keep one of each statue, not two of them. So I sold the classic Nova because I felt that this was a better sculpt and a better paint job. The light feature I haven't used yet. The batteries corroded when I opened the package, but who cares? Next to him is a gladiator of the Imperial Guard. I actually own the Bowen statue version of this guy, but I prefer the Hard Hero version. So I actually, sold or am going to sell the Bowen version. I think that this speaks to me more. But it's a close call. This one is like a tad bit too big. But on the other hand, who cares? It's Gladiator. There's the Bowen Galactus I recently bought, and it's an impressive statue. I don't think it's the best Galactus out there because that's a Galactus maquette, but it's a good statue. It's a decent statue. It looks good. It should have been taller, in my opinion. That's the only gripe I have. It should have been taller, and if it was taller, I would have been happy. The proportions on it, I believe the head is a bit too big in comparison to the body, but it's a good statue. It's a great paint job, and you need to have it in your collection. Next to him, another good baddie, another cosmic baddie, a nihilus. A very, very, very well-known villain of the Fantastic Four universe. Also, occasional Avengers villain. He's been in Annihilation saga recently. It wasn't very easy to get the pegs in the base. But look at the base. I mean, look at him. I mean, I don't get why people don't like this statue. I mean, it's a good statue. You can look at the wings. I mean, the detail on the wings, the spikes, and the skull in his hand, and the classic helmet, because he's actually very scarred, I believe, and that's a helmet he's wearing. I love it. It's a very, very good piece. Now I'm forgetting 4 pieces, I believe. No, 5 pieces. So I'm moving on because this is getting to be a very long little film here. Black Bolt. What do I need to say? I mean, come on, it's the king of the Inhumans. He's married to Medusa, and this is a classic, I believe, Kirby pose, and I love him. Look at him. There's nothing wrong with this statue, and he was in the War of Kings saga, so he's been made more prominent, and I love him. Now, in the back there's a Thanos statue again. That's a Diamond Select statue. I actually had to get his hand off because he was a bit too tall for my shelf here. I'm going to sell him off because I don't have room for 2 Thanos statues. There's my Magus, and probably not many people know who he is, but he was in the Infinity War saga, the follow-up to the Infinity Gauntlet, and he is also wearing the Infinity Gauntlet. I love this statue. It doesn't get the respect it deserves, but I think it's a very decent looking and good looking statue. I also own the Adam Warlock statue, but he's at the restorer at the moment. But I would like to post them, in one cabinet with Adam Warlock, among others. Here's my War Machine statue, the classic War Machine, and he has a terrific base. And I love the minigun and the handgun and stuff like that. I mean, he's packed, with weapons, and I love that fact. Yeah. So cool looking statue. Moving on. There's a lot of comic books there. And I think that this is my last statue, at least. I'm not sure, but I think he should be my last statue. This is Yocasta. And, I mean, in the comic book, all I could remember was that she was a robot with, gigantic assets. And I never understood what her role was. And I'm reading reading back the Avengers comics, the 80s, comic books. And I'm still wondering what her role was and what her added value was. And I think that the writers themselves had their had issues with, writing and developing her character, because she was, based on the thought pattern and the voice of Janet Pym, and the Wasp. And I'm not sure that they really had a plan with her, except from being the Bride of Ultron. And that was a very epic story arc. But other than that, she is not a character that people will remember fondly for her storylines, but mainly for her assets. So yeah, these are my statues. This is my my update, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any feedback for me to improve, or if you want to see some new things, I will be getting in a lot of statues, in the next couple of weeks. So an update will follow. So thank you guys. Have a good one. Bye bye.